All right, welcome back to the Natty News Daily podcast. We are here with our Brazilian friend, 3D MJ athlete, Leo Silva. Leo, we got to the pleasure, I had the pleasure of meeting you at Worlds, and I was like, man, we got to get Leo on the podcast. So, why don't we start with a brief introduction of yourself, and then we'll get into the topic we are just talking about off air. Get right into it. So, briefly introduce yourself, and we'll get right into it.
Yeah, likewise, man. The pleasure was mine. So my name is Leonardo Garcia da Silva, and I live in Brazil. It's in a small town in the state of São Paulo. It's on the countryside, so it's pretty small, and I like living here because it's when I grew up. So here, I think in Brazil, things are starting to get like a little bit more, I would say, things are heating up in terms of natural bodybuilding because in the past, people usually just look at bodybuilding in general, like the enhanced side. And but I think it's growing like a lot uh, throughout the year because
Mhm.
I remember that it's the same thing when happened with the bodybuilding enhanced, for instance. Because when I started training here in my town, we didn't have any gym back in the day. So when I started training, I had to buy all my equipment, and then I need to buy like plates and barbells and dumbbells, and I remember that it took like 5 or 6 years of me lifting until like the first gym was open, and it was like this. Yeah, and it was like nothing like this gym, like, oh, this is a regular gym, for instance. It was similar to a studio,
Mhm.
you know, like a small studio when people go there, and not usually just to do like lifting, but more to do like cardio or something like this in order to lose some weight, you know. So, but then out of the sudden, like people started to follow bodybuilding in general, like and start to get huge, even
Mhm.
with products like supplements and food in general. Because I I forgot to mention because I work in a market, so we run a business with groceries, you know, like and I remember that back in like 10 years ago, 10 years, yeah, 10 years or so, we didn't have like the amount of products that you guys have in the supermarket, for instance, like protein bars and whey, for instance, or any like uh, protein food or drink or whatever. It was like super hard to find it, and when we find it, it would be like in pharmacy, and it was like super expensive, something like that we couldn't afford, you know. But nowadays, like it's getting huge. We have like a lot of products like related to
Yeah.
bodybuilding in general, and to be like more healthy or I think in this regard.
What kind of
So
time span are you talking about, right? So when did you start lifting to now, and where in there do you think it started taking off? I think you said about like 5 years into your lifting careers when you started to see things change, right?
yeah, like I've been lifting for like 13 to 14 years,
Hmm.
and I would say that um maybe when I was already at the gym for like 6 years, 7 years, something like this. Yeah,
Hmm.
then things started to change. Like I would say that YouTube made people to change their views about the gym
Hmm.
because uh, in the past, if you went to a gym, you would call like a person that doesn't like to work in general. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I forgot the word in English because my English is not that that's great, but
I don't think there is a word, I mean, that specific to in English. What you're trying to say is almost like it was looked down on as people that just weren't industrious or they weren't hard workers and they were going to the gym to kind of just be lazy, kind of, right? I guess
yeah,
you could say
like
meathead, huh? Like
yeah,
meathead or
like meathead, but in a sense as well, like. person that doesn't have a lot of commitment with something, like with
Like responsibilities and things
a
like that.
responsibility or
Yeah.
so, because people they they've seen like if you go to the gym, maybe I think because in a sense they didn't consider as a sport, I would say. So they would say like, oh, this person like they can afford to go to a gym, stuff like this.
Yeah, interesting. I like that. And
Yeah.
so obviously you were getting into it before it was mainstream. So what was your early inspiration?
Yeah. So I would say that because I like a lot of animes, so I used to watch a lot of Dragon Balls and especially Dragon Balls with and I seen like the if someone like have ever seen like Dragon Ball in the first ones,
Hmm.
Goku and Vegeta used to be huge, like
Hmm.
and also as Superman, and since I was a kid, I was really into it, like in animes and in fights and all of that kind of stuff. And I have a brother as well, so this rivalry with brothers, we always had it into us. So I remember that my brother he bought some equipment from a guy that was he used to work in a company and they had a deal, like something like this. He used to have some equipment and some plates at his house,
Hmm.
so he made a deal with him, and then we started like competing with each other, like, oh, let's do it and do some push-ups and pull-ups. And I started to really liking I started to really like the idea of getting like jacked,
Hmm.
doing something at our place, and I spent a lot of time with my brother as well. So it started to grow to grow on me, like this. I remember that the first bodybuilder that I saw was a guy from Brazil, and I saw him on a magazine. He also competed at the Olympia. His name is Eduardo Corrêa. So when I saw the magazine, I was like, I would say that I I knew he was on drugs, but at the same time I was like, man, if I could like be like 10% of this guy, 5%, whatever, would be
Hmm.
awesome. So then I start to really take things more serious. But I remember because I think that I trained at my place and I didn't have a lot of contacts, and I've never been in a in an environment, I would say, like related to a gym or whatever. People would like look down on me, even like coaches, because for me I was like, man, I need to improve. I was always that kind of person that if I start doing something and I really love it, I want to be like the best, or I want to be like my best version, I would
Hmm.
say. So I need to be like 100% on time on things. So I started to look for a coach, and they were like, "Oh, but you train at home and whatever." Well, and I remember that I've never had this not competitive side, because I've always been a competitive person, but it was never like something that was a dream for me, like competing in bodybuilding. It
Hmm.
was more like I need to develop my physique at the best as I can, and let's see.
You're
Hmm.
very
So
internally and self-motivated, I can tell.
yeah, yeah, and I something that I've never like needed was like a motive to go to the gym, like in order to get results, like, oh, to get a medal or whatever, or for people to look at me, because I used to train at my place was like I didn't have like a lot of equipment or loads for do a bunch of stuff, but at the same time I enjoy it. But when I start to look for people that was more like a specialist on the subject, they would be like, oh, but first of all you need to go to a regular gym, because otherwise you will be like reach your at your potential like really uh, fast because you're training at your place and
Mhm.
you don't have like the equipment to develop your physique as well, or maybe you if you want to develop your physique you need to take drugs in order to do so. So I was like, no, it's something that I don't want to do it. So
Mhm.
I started to look it up for like more of the natural scene, but in Brazil we didn't have it at the time. And then a guy from YouTube, he's a Brazilian as well, but he used to live in Ohio, and he used to post things and videos on YouTube about bodybuilding. I was like, oh, this is cool. And he was
Who was
also
that? Who
net.
was that? In Ohio. I mean,
Uh,
that's not far from me.
oh, really?
I live in Pennsylvania, on the western side of Pennsylvania. Like my family even has a
Also,
lake house in Ohio. So
oh, it's closed then.
yeah, I'm like 45 minutes from the Ohio border. I don't know
Oh,
where in Ohio you're talking, but yeah, I'm close to Ohio.
no, it's nice. I remember that. I think because he brought like this idea of natural bodybuilding and also like uh, the idea of living abroad, like in the
Mhm.
US, he got like huge, like so fast, really, really fast. And people start to look it up on him.
Mhm.
And then he like he was the guy that kind of brought the natural bodybuilding for Brazil. And he used to have like a good physique, but people were like, "Oh, no way, this guy is natural, no way," you know. And I remember that he talked about like the best athletes and coaches in the U.S. And I was like, "Oh, this is cool. Let me see this." And he mentioned like 3GMJ, Cliff
Mhm.
Wilson, and I was like, "Let me reach out to those guys," but something that I didn't realize is how hard was it like to talk in English with another person.
Mhm.
And I used to be like quite a good student in other subjects, but I used to hate like English. And I was like, oh, maybe if I do like a course, like a regular course for, I don't know, 5 months or 6 months, I'll get it. Man, was the worst experience of my life. But was something that really kind of motivated me, I would
Once you
say.
had a reason to do it, yeah.
Yeah, like I had this purpose because I need to learn more. Otherwise, people will treat me like, oh, whatever, you a kid from the countryside that want to get a physique, so take this drug or go to a regular gym. So this was not something that I wanted for me, you know. And then I remember that I signed up for the 3GMJ guys. And then they replied saying that Jeff was going to be a person that was having the first call for me. And I was like, okay, but I don't speak English. Can we work something out? I don't know, like for the Spanish something or whatever. They were like, oh, maybe if you talk in Spanish, but you don't like something in English. I said, yeah, I'm doing some courses, and I don't know, maybe we can try at least. And then I had my first call with Jeff. So man, that day I remember that I'm like a quite confident person in anything, like to do something. But that day I was like destroyed, like even for like the 5 minutes talking to Jeff because I felt bad for him because he had to like write it down everything for me in order for me to translate, and he had like the all the patience to do it, and we established that like he took like I think 3 hours like doing it, help me out, he yeah, he was saying things to me and I was like, and he said, oh, just a second. He wrote down everything, made sure that I would understand everything. And I was like, after the session, I was like, so what we are going to do is, can we do it? Because I'll do my best to learn English and try to to make that work? And he said, no, of course, you're fine. And
Mhm.
I felt like in this obligation of really learn this language in order to help me and also to represent what he did for me. And this is something that I always bring to him, like, man, do you remember? And he's like, yeah, you gave me a lot of work, and I appreciate like a lot,
Yeah.
I would say.
It's an
I
awesome
love that
story.
story. I mean, I think a lot of us, like especially in the US, we take for granted a lot of what we have, right? We've got gyms on every corner in most big cities, there's coaches everywhere. Like you said, supplementation is just like run amok in the US. And here you are like building your own gym as a kid, like finding, whatever random pieces you can get and afford and fit in your house or wherever you were training, and learning another language so you can learn and educate yourself. I mean, that's dedication. Like you said, you don't seem to be the person that needs to be motivated if you're willing to quite literally learn a second language so that you can communicate efficiently with someone, your coach. So yeah, that in itself is a lesson that I think a lot of viewers, especially maybe the younger ones, should listen to, right? Like there's real adversity that some people face, and then there's the problems that some of us complain about that really are just little anthills.
Yeah, but I mean, was as you said, I think when we really pursue something and we dedicate ourselves to do it, we can do it, I really like believe on it. Maybe
Mhm.
you are not a person that have like all those privileges. I always think like this: if you start a race, for instance, and then you are in this race that the roads like have this size, they can put like everyone like side by side. So they will put like some people in front of you. So I would say that those people, they are kind of privileged. But if you are like really at the bottom, you can go there, you can get there. It will be harder than the first person that is on front, but you get there. And I think this is something that really helped me like in other aspects on life because I was passionate about bodybuilding, and I was like, man, if I can like do the same thing like in regards to my work or whatever, I'll get there.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
this is
the
something
sport definitely teaches a lot of discipline and time management and other things that definitely can translate into success and professionalism.
yeah, this has helped me a lot since I was like a young person, and this kind of gave me like all the guidelines, and also having Jeff on my corner was something that helped me like a lot, because at the beginning I was like, man, for this guy, he's going to work with me will be like awesome because he also work he goes to his home gym as well, so he will understand me,
Mhm.
because other coaches, they I I worked with like two other guys, and they were like, "Oh, you should do like an abductor machine or whatever," and I was like, "I don't have those at home," and said, "Oh, this would be it's gonna be a problem. It's always an issue for that." And I couldn't afford like go to another city just to train because I need to work at my place because as I said, we work in a grocery store that's from my family. So we work the entire time since we're like kids.
Mhm.
So if I would say like, oh man, I would spend like 1 or 2 hours going to a gym, my mom would kill me. Like, no, we're not going there.
Yeah.
Like, go work. So yeah, and then having this guy like Jeff, like uh, teaching me things, not just in regards to bodybuilding, but I would say like more like a life aspect was
Mhm.
something that really helped me, uh, like um, to like build my not my I would say not my character, but I mean like I I think to become like a better person, I would say.
I
you
mean,
know?
he's definitely a great role model, right? Even if you're not being
100%.
coached by him, if you just listen to the way he speaks and, the balance that he's created and the things that he does sacrifice that, giving up the more optimal approach to be the better family man, father, role model to his athletes. Yeah, I mean, you certainly found a great one by going to him.
100%. 100%. And
Mhm.
this was something that I struggled at the beginning because at the beginning I was like so narrow-minded, like if oh I need to eat like chicken and sweet potatoes and doing this in this kind of the hour and I can lose like a meal, I can lose like a training session and I need to go do this kind of stuff. Even like nowadays I would say that I'm quite a methodic person. This is something that is part of my character, so it's something that I'm not ashamed of.
Mhm.
But I do like a whole lot better right now because Jeff like helped me a lot.
Mhm.
My my wife would say so because it's something that she said since the beginning, like, oh man, since you like start to work with Jeff, like you're becoming like a lot better in regards to everything because I used to sacrifice a lot to kind of become the best version of myself.
Mhm.
And I was not really paying attention to other things in life. I used
Yeah.
to train like a lot, almost every single day, like 6 times a week or sometimes 7 times a week. And when Jeff like said, "Oh, let's reduce your volume and like try to do something that will help you with recovery and also have like more time with our wife and whatever." I was like, "No, no, I need to train. I need to do my best." I was like that person that I want to listen. I will do it, but I was like trying to do it in order to prove that he was wrong. So I would say, yeah, we're wrong and we need to come back. And then I was like, man, it's working. And then I instead of like trying to challenge him in a sense, like accepting, but in order to make to say that he was wrong, I was like, this guy really knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, I think Leroy has mentioned like Cliff always talks about people saying like I'll do whatever it takes, normally implying like I'll do more, where sometimes what it takes is doing less, stepping
Yeah,
away, resting, recovering, finding the balance so that you don't burn out or destroy relationships and can stay in the sport for that reason. So yeah, there's definitely a lot to that equation, and what works best for some might not work best for the others.
yeah, for sure, man. For sure.
Yeah. So and not that's to say too, like you started training less, you started finding balance, and yet this year was an incredibly successful year for you, right? So why don't we, this is not to say that you're, I don't think you could do better result wise just by adding in an extra session or two sessions. I mean, so I was actually there at Hercules, got to see you in person there, even though I didn't get a chance to speak with you too much. But
Mhm.
yeah, so let's kind of piggyback off that conversation and bring it back to how did this year go for you competitively?
Oh man, I would say that wouldn't be better.
Hmm.
So I was not like my intention was not to compete this year. I was like heading to 25. So then I was in kind of a middle ground in regards to bodybuilding because I was like really committed to improve and get better. But at the same time, I was like, I don't know if I want to compete more, you know, because I want to experience everything, like having the environment of bodybuilding, because I could relate to all those people or to all those people that like the same stuff that I do. So I want to feel like a part of a group, but at the same time, I was like, if I go to a prep and I need to sacrifice a lot of stuff at more work, at my relationship with my wife, my family. So why don't I just go to there and talk to people and whatever? Because
Hmm.
this was my first experience when I competed for the first time. When I went there, I was like, oh, well, let's compete. And when I saw like all those people that like the same stuff as me, I was like, man, this is awesome. This is the environment that I was looking for. I felt a part of a group.
Hmm. Yeah.
But at the same time, Jeff was like, I think you improved a lot from those years. So when you want to compete, like just give me a head up and let's go. And then I start to see a lot of people competing.
Is this your
And the,
first? This is your first season?
no, this is
Like
my second season.
this is your second in 2022.
Yeah, 22.
Okay, so 24 was your third season.
My third season. Yeah. My first one was in 2018. So
2019, you said?
18.
18.
18. Yeah.
Do
Was
you have any
like,
photos from that or
yeah, I think I have a comparison photo right right on the top, like with the I think I put like side by side, 22 and 2018. Oh, like here you go, like here, the
which
closer
one?
to the oh, like at the bottom. You just like scroll it through
Did I
side
miss
by
it?
side. Yeah, there you
There's
go.
it.
Yeah, this was my first season in
I had the
2018.
muscle mayhem.
Yeah, I've done
With
like
Josh
muscle
Kenyon, that's right.
Josh Cannon, yeah, the this monster.
Yeah.
And Ace Baldwin competed that year, right? Too?
Yes, as well. Yeah, I was like when I saw like Ace for the first time, I was like, "Ah, man, this is like I couldn't believe that he was like natural,
Hmm.
and I couldn't believe that he wasn't even competing with the amateur guys. I was like, this guy is not an amateur,
Yeah. Yeah,
you
and
know.
that show no, historically brings in some high level amateurs for sure. So, but I mean, as a first season, that's a very, very competitive look. There's a lot of shows that you could go into and place very highly with that look, even in your first season.
Mhm. Thanks,
There's
man. I
real.
appreciate it.
Love
So
it.
how did you place in that first season in that show?
So I got third on juniors and fourth in lightweight.
Okay. Yeah. So and then, like you said, you took the off season, grew into the next, what we say, was it 21 was the second season?
It was 22.
22, 22. Yeah, had the numbers mixed up, right? And, again, certainly made massive improvements already.
Yeah, I also have these comparison shots. I think at the bottom and at the top of the that picture. So I've made some improvements, and
Mhm.
I was like, let's do it again, you know.
Yeah. There's the
And
comparison you're talking about. Yeah. You just
yeah,
Yeah,
this one,
big improvements, yeah.
doubled yourself in size and got even grainier. So yeah,
yeah,
in a very short period of time.
yeah. This was something that I was really proud of, you know. And I think also because I was proud of bringing this look, I was like, I'm like I've done enough with competing, so I would be fine if didn't if I don't need to compete as well, you know.
Hmm.
But at the same time, I saw a lot of people competing. I was like getting those itches,
Hmm.
and I couldn't hold myself, you know. So
Yeah.
I said, "Oh, let's go."
And so you open your season with the Hercules this year, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
something that I was not expecting to do it
Hmm.
because I was heading to Mayhem, and then I saw that Hercules they because I mean they had like a great show at Hercules in 22, but the venue was not that great, you know. I think because I've done like Mayhem for the first time, and Mayhem has like such a nice like stage lighting
Oh
and
yeah.
everything, the venue. And when I got to when I went to Hercules, I was like, all this light here is not great, you know, like pretty shadow and everything. I didn't have like the best experience there in terms of lighting and stage wise, but with like people and the experience itself was awesome, you know. So I was like, oh, if they do it like the Hercules at the same place, I won't do it. And
Hmm.
then they posted it, they switch it up, And I was like, oh man, this is closer to me, like to go to New York than going to Sacramento. And then I went there, like I had like a conversation with Jeff, like I think 2 weeks from the competition, saying what he asking him what was his opinion on it. And I said, oh, let's do it if you want to do it. Because I was like ready to it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And
I'd say so.
and then I went there, man. And uh, I would say that was better than I expected because I became a pro there
Hmm.
and was awesome because I think when we went to a show, I think the first thing that we want to is to have like more competitors.
Hmm.
And I think people that are really into it, not that I'm saying that a person that is not taking things serious shouldn't compete. But I mean, like if you are a really competitive person, you want to compete with a certain group of people that have the same goals as you, right? So when I went there, they were like amazing athletes competing at the same show. So I was like, yeah, this is what I was looking for. This is something that I've never been disappointed. Like when while I do something that someone is better than me, I am the opposite. If I see someone that is better than me, I get like inspired by this person, you know. I mean, it's
Hmm.
like, oh, this is awesome. Look how this person can perform so well, you know.
Hmm.
And this
It's
is
amazing
something,
looking. Yeah. Amazing.
yeah.
Well, yeah,
Hmm.
you felt like you wanted to, or like you had to earn the pro card. It wasn't given to you, and you absolutely did. Like that was a pretty tough lineup there. A couple individuals
Yeah.
that had been pro prior and had lost their pro cards. Mike Ventura was there, who was we just interviewed as the marathon man, should be a pro, is pro in other federations. So it was a pretty intense lineup at that show, and yeah, you came out on top of that pro card, which was exciting to see. I think a lot of people
Yeah.
were rooting for you there.
Yeah, 100%. And for me, like, it was something that uh, I had, I super struggle with, like, um, to say that I'm worthy of something, you know.
Hmm.
And when I got my pro card, I was like, every single time I was like saying to Jeff, like, this something was worth it because in 22 I came second twice. I in Hercules I came second, and the guy who beat me he won the overall, and Mayhem in 22, I won my class and I lost for Brian, you know,
Hmm.
in the overall. And then I was like, I got the feeling that I need the next time that I go to a show, I need to be like I 100% on my game and try to like really earn it, you know, like my victory. And when I got my pro card in Hercules, it was like it was that worth like really like earn it by me, like by my physique. It was like a hard process for me like to digest, you know, the whole experience in a
Hmm.
sense. I was super happy, but at the same time I was like, yeah, I don't know, you know. And
Yeah.
then I want to do my pro debut in at Muscle Mayhem, and I flew out to to California to do it. And when I got there, I received the email from Bob and Tina saying that I was the only one at the competition, and for me it was like, oh, I can't
I
believe
heard
it.
that. That's a shame.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt like because they messaged me like really in the day that I got there at the Jeff's house. So I was like, no, I can't believe it. Because otherwise, uh, if they kind of warned me like a week earlier, I would stay at my place and I spent a lot of money on it.
Yeah, 'cause
Hmm.
you got a
But
lot of travel to go there. It's not like it's in your backyard.
yeah, man, it's like 14 hours from here, and
So
you know.
that's a huge financial investment, but it's also your pro debut too, right? Like you only get one of those, so I'm sure that was a little upsetting not being able to debut with other pros.
Yeah, this was like the boomer, like, and I got there and they said, "Oh, you're the only one in the bodybuilding class." I was like, "Oh, it's not
Hmm.
good," And but they were like really nice with me. They really helped me, and in a way with the financial stuff, to help me with the competition because they said that it wasn't kind of fair, like to be there all by yourself. And the judges as well, they were like super super nice because they made me do like a really a presentation of, like almost a guest posing because they they hold me there for like almost 5 minutes, 6 minutes, and I was like all by myself, and it was a nice experience as well.
Hmm.
At first, when I got there, like really in the morning, I was feeling like, oh, I shouldn't be here, like I was feeling like this bad feeling, of being there and just being by myself, and I had this in my mind that I was not worth it of the pro card, and then I'm doing my pro debut like all by myself. It was like the worst experience at
Hmm.
the beginning. And then like things start to, I think I start to realize that those things happen and
Hmm.
it is what it is, and I think the biggest, I think, prize, I would say that was spending time with Jeff and his family because it was the second time that we we stay at his place and we always have like a great time.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say silver lining of it all, you got to pro debut in front of your coach, which in this landscape not many people get to do. Who and not just a coach to you, someone that you'd been working with for a very long time. So I'm sure that in itself was special. And
Yeah.
then hopefully you got some really detailed judges' feedback because they shouldn't have been looking anywhere else, right?
Yeah. The first thing when we went when I finished the competition, and I remember that we got to Jeff's house and his wife was there and they said, "Hey, Susanna, do you, I said, "Hey, what do you think that, not what do you think, but I mean, like, guess what?" I said to her, "Guess what? I won. I beat the guy like I was there." But it was cool, like it was a cool experience. So I went there, did my pro debut, and then I was like, I still hadn't lose like this feeling of I'm not worthy of the pro. So I started to look it up for other competitions, like in other countries and or maybe in the US as well. But at the same time, I was like, I need to hold myself back a little bit and really focus in just one uh, competition. And since when we start the season, Jeff and I we aligned that our goal is to be at Worlds. Doesn't matter as a pro or as an amateur, like just be there and um, to go there and to compete there at Worlds. So I was like, yeah, let's hold my back. But it was not easy for me like to hold myself back and stay there like for these 3 4 months just holding my physique because I start my prep in January.
So
I
yeah, that's a long stretch between
Yeah,
Mayhem and Worlds.
I spent my whole year just in prep and that's it. So it was not a smart decision, but it was not on Jeff, it was on me because since the beginning Jeff said, "Oh, I thought about those shows. What do you think about it?" Because I always rely on him about the shows because for me it's like what he thinks is the best, like shows to do it in order to like
You
um,
trust his judgment. Yeah.
yeah, and I think because he knows a lot about the shows and how to organize like the whole plan. Because can you imagine like I'm from Brazil, but I choose this show and I don't know anything about it. I go there and it's like It's a small show and doesn't have a lot of competitors, and it's not something like it's worth it to do it. Like not trying to be like cocky about saying that what is worth it or not, but I mean it's not easy to when you commit yourself to do something. Yeah, I think the you are expect like the least to be a competitive environment, I would say.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
So
going to
for
Worlds was,
that's both
I
of them.
assume that was able to deliver that. So why don't you talk about your experience at Worlds and maybe how that contrasted with.
Yeah, so I've watched like the Worlds in last year because I went there to watch Jeff competing. So I kind of expect uh, something like great from Worlds, like the best athletes and a huge event. So I was like hyped up about it. And when I got there, like to compete with those monsters, I was like, man, I'm doing my pro debut. You know what I mean? So whatever the results, for me was like, oh, I am here and I will just have fun and present myself at my best. So my family was there as well. My coach was
Well, that's
there.
awesome. They got to go.
Yeah. So for me, it was like an awesome experience. And the thing is, we we went to our an Airbnb. So Jeff stayed with us, my family stayed with us, and Brian Leon stayed with us as well, because we have like such a nice friendship. He's now like part of the family as well
Mhm.
because and we went there and every single day we were doing stuff that were not related to bodybuilding, and it seems like we are not like even competing until like was like one day out, to be honest, because we were like hanging out and going to gyms, but we kind of we thirst like the whole city as well. So for us it was like we were just having fun. And when I got there like to that event, the first thing that I would say that I want to prove myself is that I would be part of this group, like this select group where people are bringing their best, like people from all over the world. So when I got there and they called me on the first call out, I was like, I can't believe that's happened,
Yeah, so look at the size of this lineup, and you made first call out.
Yeah, I was like, man, I made it, And I was like super happy about it because then I could like that whole doubt uh, that if I was worth
That
it
you
or not.
deserved it and you earned it, which I always
Yeah.
believed you did. But yeah, but that little thing in the back of your mind.
Yeah, it was something like a confirmation for me. And then things got even better because then on the backstage they said like, "Oh, we are going to announce the top five," and they call like my first name as with the top five. I was like, I can't believe it.
Hell yeah, yeah.
you know. So even that was there. My family was there. My coach was there. I have a lot of friends there, and I was able to do my routine as well. So for me, it was like such a dream, that came true. Even now, it's hard for me to kind of grasp and kind of understand what happened.
You deserved it, man. You looked incredible up there.
Thank you so much, man.
Yeah.
And
And because
people are like,
yeah, I mean, you started that call out in the on the side stage where the lighting wasn't very good, and then you
yeah, it was
still worked your way into
terrible.
that first call out. So I think the judging was pretty fair on that, but still, like, yeah, you earned it, man.
Yeah, when I went there and I was like at the end, I remember that I was seeing the lighting and I was like in the shadow. I thought like, oh man, it's not good. I'm in the shadow. No,
Oh, they
I
gave you a fair
never.
look. So
Yeah. and they called me for the first call out. For me, it was that there was like my win, you know. And also because I was representing my country as well. People
Mhm.
are really like cheering for me. This was something that I was not expecting. Something that I was at the beginning. I was even overwhelmed with all the people that following me and like cheering up for me here in Brazil. You know,
Mhm.
and was something that for me was my biggest win this year. I would say was not like placing top five in worlds, but I mean like to know that a lot of people they really like you, even people that you don't, as it sometimes you don't like even know those people in person, but they send you messages saying that they you inspired them and they didn't know that someone here from Brazil would be representing the WNBF Brazil, and for me it was like awesome, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think you're a great ambassador for those in the bodybuilding space that want to go the natural route in Brazil, right? Because like we
Yeah,
talked about, I mean, that's still there's definitely a lot of interest in it, James, and we talked off air about that. Like I mentioned on Natty News, like even though it's still really budding there, it's I think Brazil is the third largest country of our following, which is just wild considering the actual competitive scene is still in its infancy, I'd say. So, yeah, for you, I think you're leading the charge of something that might be even bigger than you realize, Leo.
yeah. For me, like we just had like the first show from WNBF this year, and I was like, people would say, "Ah, but can you imagine if the show is how like how big is going to be the show?" And I was like, I'm 100% that the show will be like huge, and
Yeah.
that what happened. A lot of athletes, a lot of people with great potential, because we have a lot of people here that they are really really good. They have like amazing genetics and everything,
Mhm.
but there, I think because it's not so popular as the enhanced side, people would not believe that someone could reach those potentials. And I would say like when I saw like the competition, and I here in Brazil, and I could like be a judge as well here. I I saw the level of the competition. I was like, man, Brazil have the same potential as the other countries.
Mhm.
Maybe they just need a little bit of condition here and there to bring that look, you know, like that pro look. But I mean, it's there, like the genetics, the hard works, is all there. So
The
maybe in the
competitiveness is
future,
only going to rise year to year, and word gets
yeah,
out. I have a feeling in the next 5 years that might be one of the biggest WNBF shows, if not the biggest. I could
yeah,
actually see it being the biggest in the
Mhm.
WNBF.
Yeah.
yeah, I would say so.
Fans of
Give it
bodybuilding in
5 to 10
Brazil
years
seem
time.
very
Yeah,
locked in. We've seen it in other markets like Taiwan, right? They did their
yeah,
WNBF show and it was like 400 athletes, right?
yeah.
And the potential is there for sure.
100%.
So,
So, love
Yeah,
to
the
see
same
you leading the charge there, Leo.
here. This is something that I never like thought about doing, you know, like even being a judge. I would say that man, we need to we really need to appreciate what the judges do, because it's not easy, man. It's
yeah.
super super hard, and especially when we have like a lot of athletes, and you need to be fair with everyone, and you have like those comparison that they are really close to each other. When it's like when the levels like have these a disparity, I would say, like if someone, it's like easy to split like those groups, like the first and second call out, and then you just have those comparisons with first, second, and third, and whatever. It's easy to do. But when you go to a competition to be a judge and you see like, oh, this guy he have this and this other guy have this and that other guy have this, and then you try to be fair and say what's more relevant to you,
Apples and
and
oranges, right? They say.
apple and oranges. And for me, I was like, I won't be that person that I will choose something that is more in regards to my taste, but I would say like more in regard to what the judge criteria is asking for. But man, it's super hard to do it, super hard.
Yeah, that's one position in the sport I never want to do. I don't mind
Yeah,
giving my commentary on a microphone, but like to have to actually put my name to the score, it is tough. It's absolutely tough.
yeah, super
And,
tough.
there's so many different classes too, right? Like you
Yeah,
can't just judge bodybuilding. So you
no.
have to become very fluent in all the criteria for all the different, classes. And yeah, it's a long day too. I
Yeah.
long and very probably poorly paid and recognized as well.
Yeah, but I think we do it for the love of this on the sport, because for me I was like on prep and I was doing it, and at the beginning I was like, oh, I will spend like the whole day like doing it, like being a judge. And when I went there, I remember that I was there the whole day, like for 10 hours, I would say, like seated there. And I was like, oh, this is really fun, you know. For me, it was like a party, I would say, and it was not like close to my house. It was like 3 hours apart from house, from my home. I remember that that day I went to bed like 3 a.m. or so, because I need to drive until I get there here, and the event like took a lot of time because there were a lot of people competing there, but it was such a fun event.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So so you did the judging. You hinted at, even this season, maybe taking some time away from competing. What's the future look like for you right now? Is it leaning more into the judging and being involved there and less as an athlete for a couple years, or did the world's experience kind of reignite the fire again and you're going to jump right back into it?
Yeah, I'm trying to get Jeff to on stage with me, which is something that we are going to do this year, but he couldn't do it.
Mhm.
So my biggest goal is to be on stage with him.
Compete with Jeff. I love it.
Yeah, he's always running away from me. I told you.
Do you blame him, James?
He's scared. He's scared of like losing, like
You don't want that smoke.
yeah. I already told him like, you're scared because this is why you're like running away from me. And he said, you see, like he's going to do next year
Mhm.
because he knows that I'm not going to be able to do it next year. So I said, let's align a year and let's do it. So, this is something that I always joking about it. I always mocking about this about the competition, but for me, it would be like a dream to compete with Jeff, like uh, to be there with him, like to share those moments with him. Something that Jeff for me is like the biggest inspiration, natural bodybuilder. I have like a lot
Yeah,
of
Jeff's awesome.
yeah, like for me, he's such an example, not just on a sport, but in life as well. And I am always learning things from him, and I consider him like a part of my family. And I think he also thinks that of me as well. So for me, like being on stage with him would be like my end goal in this career, you know, because when I compete here at World, I'm not the kind of person that looks like, oh, if I went to top five right now, then next time it will be like top three or top two or top one or whatever. For me, it was like, man, I made like something awesome. Like I got top five. So for me, it's like incredible. But I want to reach my best physique as possible. I want to be at my best every single year. So I don't want to rush things, you know,
Mhm.
and I don't want to sacrifice more than enough, you know, because I've done that in the past. I don't want to to make the same mistakes that I made in the past.
Hmm.
So for me, in order to compete, I would say that I need to be in this right environment. Like I need to be ready, because not because I'm ready for this competition. I'm ready because I've made my commitment, and then this competition show up. So let's do it. Let's jump in it. Then I think then you can appreciate and have fun, not as an obligation to go there.
Hmm.
But I would say that maybe in 27, I was thinking about to go there again. But let's
We
see.
might overlap then. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, but I'm waiting for Jeff. If said Jeff said this says like, oh, let's do 27, and I said, yeah, let's do it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Love it.
Love it. So why don't we we're closing in on a time here. Why don't I'd love for you to give a message to let's be specific for you to the Portuguese fans community or the Brazilian fans community, people who might look up to you. I would like just what would your message be to them, to people that are looking into the sport, getting into the sport. Feel free to do it in English and in Portuguese if you'd like.
Brazilian.
Yeah.
Keep saying
Yeah.
Portuguese.
Well,
Yeah.
that would be the language, Portuguese.
Yeah, Portuguese. Yeah.
Oh,
I
okay.
would say in both of them. Like, so I would say that for people that really are thinking about competing in bodybuilding, natural bodybuilding, or maybe being part of it, and or maybe just the younger generation that is thinking as a bodybuilding, just not because I mean, some people that they look at bodybuilding as opportunity to have a career, to have like a job, because the enhanced side they are earning a lot of money here in Brazil, like, because they are get famous and all of that kind of stuff. But I mean, if you do it for love, like for passion, you could do it, and it's not just about like getting money or being recognized, but it's more so about like doing something that you love. So I would say if you want to, you can get it. Like you can develop an incredible physique. You can be like the best version of yourself if you want to, as a natural bodybuilding. And now we have more opportunity to be part of it. Like we are not a country that is being like putting aside. No, we are being recognized and people are starting to loving it. It's not just about soccer. I think bodybuilding is being like more recognized as an sport as well. So having these opportunities, such as like having WNBF here in Brazil, and um, also they having other events like in other those countries, can go there, we can compete. And I think if you love it, you should go, you should have the experience, you should like feel like how really is to share those moments with people that have this crazy uh, passion about a crazy sport, and like be connected. I think this is the biggest lesson and also the biggest prize in bodybuilding, being part of a group.
Hmm.
Love it.
So can I speak in Portuguese now?
Absolutely.
Então, pessoal, primeiramente estou muito honrado de estar aqui no Natty News Daily. E eu queria falar para vocês assim que para mim é uma honra estar aqui. Eu nunca imaginei estando aqui falando sobre alguma coisa, algo que eu amo demais. E eu queria falar para vocês que, tipo, não deixe de acreditar que vocês são capazes de alguma coisa. Se vocês têm a determinação e vocês que realmente têm essa paixão por algo, você realmente ama, você quer correr atrás de alcançar, você tem a oportunidade, você vai fazer criar uma oportunidade para você conseguir chegar lá. Então, não deixe de acreditar. E agora a gente tem mais oportunidade em relação ao fisiculturismo natural. E eu acredito que daqui para frente vai só aumentar e aumentar e logo mais o Brasil vai ser uma potência muito grande no esporte. E eu acredito que a gente tem que se unir, entendeu? Tipo, porque quanto mais unidos a gente estiver em relação ao esporte, melhor o esporte vai ser, melhor vai ficar para todo mundo. E isso vai trazer oportunidades para todos. E eu espero que daqui para frente só aconteçam coisas boas em relação a esse esporte que a gente ama tanto aí. Obrigado. That's it, guys.
Awesome. I love that. As just can infer what was said in that, assuming it was similar to the first sentiment. Anyways, if people want to find you, I know I shared your Instagram, but some people just listen in. So where can people find you? Is Instagram the best place?
Yeah, I think Instagram is the best place because, to be honest with you guys, I'm not the kind of person that I'm really into like social media. I'm more like a kind of private person because, as I told you, I always like grew up in a small city, and people sometimes like ask for me like, "Oh, you work with bodybuilding?" And I said, "No, man, I work with groceries and markets. For me, it's like this is a hobby. It's something that I love doing it." But I mean, like for me, like to be, I need to be like present at my work. But I love like chatting with people about building in general. So for me, it's like people can reach me out on Instagram, send messages and whatever. We can like spend some time like chatting about bodybuilding. That's something that I love, you know.
And what's your username on Instagram if they aren't watching and are listening?
Is Leo underscore STF 31.
There we go. You guys heard it here.
Awesome,
Yeah.
Thank
Leo.
you guys.
I appreciate you taking the time for us, walking through your story. And I think, like I said, you're inspiring a lot of people, and there's gonna be I foresee a lot of growth, and love to see you leading the charge. So,
Yeah.
Thank you so much, man. For me, it's like an honor, like talking to you guys. And sorry about my English. I'm trying to get better and better and better on
your
it.
English is great, man.
Yeah, English is great. I mean, we do a lot of podcasts with a lot of international athletes, and I always give them credit because it's really a talent and a chore to have to learn a different language, and most Americans don't, right? So we can't, we're never going to criticize someone who speaks multiple languages. So, but yeah, no, we appreciate your time for sure, and you did great. So for the listeners, for the viewers, thank you guys for tuning in, sticking with us for this hour. And if you liked it, give it a like, comment, subscribe, share, post it, tag us, the whole thing, so we can continue this crazy rocket that we're on and keep growing the sport of natural bodybuilding. Thank you guys. We'll see you in the next one.